At first glance, the somewhat popular Emu's all-live Pink Windmill may appear to be a simple live-action kids performance show, a genre that was typically popular in the mid-70s to early 80s, which existed to capitalize on the trends of the time. It, however, hides a much more sinister secret. In this video essay, I will seek to open the eyes of the people to the terrible truths behind this somewhat bizarre yet influential timepiece. There is so much information layered together in the short 2 minutes and 33 seconds that the video lapses, so, for simplicity's sake, I will speak about the performance of each action as they occur, with one exception that we will return to for the conclusion of the video. The broadcast opens with Rod and Emu setting the stage and allowing each Windmill Kid to introduce themselves to the audience. Pay attention to the way their introductions are phrased and the actions that they perform during each moment. More on this later as we will return to it near the end of the video.
Are you alright? You're sitting back? But of course, why don't we meet our
Windmill Kids? Hi, my name's Catrina, and my name is Hugh.
Skipping ahead to around 30 seconds into the video, the children have finished their introductions and have begun singing a rendition of the Village People's Can't Stop the Music, released in June 20th, 1980, a full 5 years before the premiere of Emu's all-live Pink Windmill show. The song choice is deliberate, as its upbeat nature sets a deceiving tone for the show, while the lyrics hide a truly sinister message. The show begins on a heavy note. Everyone you meet, the children in the street, are swaying to the rhythm. There's something moving in them. Only 7 seconds into the song, and already a perceptive viewer can tell something is up. The important words to focus on in this section are everyone, swaying, rhythm, and this latter excerpt, something moving in them. The word rhythm here is obviously code for something more diabolical, and I believe to be the same object or force they refer to later as something. What makes this passage more alarming is the focus on children. They state that everyone you meet is swaying to the rhythm, but also take the time to more specifically mention that the children in the street are as well. This important placed on children is no accident and could very well spell serious trouble for the generations to come should their plan come to fruition. Okay, moving on. These next 2 lines are truly chilling. I won't go into further explanation as to not scare off those viewers who may happen to be the faint of heart. I only do this not to deprive you of information, but to ensure that these viewers stay until the end, as more pertinent information will be stated later on in the video. On the same note, please pause the video if any children are present, as the next lines are terrifying and should be kept away from those of few years. It reads, "There's no place to hide, so why even try? Can't you hear it coming your way? It's here to stay." Truly chilling. I'm sorry if this has caused any long-term psychological damage to any viewers, but the show must go on. The next few lines are, don't get me wrong, very important, but in a relative sense, less so than those to come. So we'll skim over a few and focus on the last line in this stanza. Music makes the world go round. What could music be code for in these lines? I believe it may be referring to the same concept that has been previously mentioned as rhythm and something. Now for the chorus of the song. Before this though, some skeptical listeners may have been commenting things along the lines of, "You're simply misconstruing what's being said. These lyrics are perfectly normal and are just symbolical to an overarching enjoyment of music that every human shares." And to you, though skeptical of what I have said thus far, I say, this is the point of the video that the true depravity begins to unfold. The video cuts to a nice scene in a field, centered on Catrina Hylton-Hull, more on the importance of each member later, as the children are engaged in a seemingly energetic and pure dance. It is actually a taunt to the people of the earth as they detail exactly what will happen if their plan comes to fruition. I, of course, am referring to Armageddon itself. Many famous predictions have been made as to what this will entail, but the truth behind the end of the world has been hidden under our noses this whole time, ever since 1984. Pay close attention to the lyrics during this chorus. The next cut shows us a concerned-looking Joe, who I believe to be one of the most influential members of the whole charade. He brings us more foreshadowing and ominous prophecies, followed by what appears to be a bizarre ritual of sacrifice, where he offers himself up to the other children. We never get to see the end of these actions, as the screen immediately shifts to Hugh. Hugh, however, serves to reiterate what we already know, tell us that the plan is coming to fruition, evident in the line, "The sound is getting louder, the sound is getting louder."
The sound is getting louder, sound is getting louder.
And yet, at the same time, to spit in our faces as the true hubris of this organization shows through, as they, at this point, believe they cannot be stopped. On to the final section, the last chorus. It is at this point that we can see that these children are being subject to a torture and are not in control of their actions. Just look at the pain in their eyes that they are seemingly told to dance for their lives. Their aggressive and jarring movements can only be seen as a last-ditch effort at a cry for help. But, seeing as this was recorded back Friday the 13th of July 1984, this cry was evidently in vain. Even the audience members can be seen half-heartedly mimicking the dance in order to maintain a small hope that their lives would be spared. Unfortunately, this was not the case. The last lines are the most important of the entire video, and they further prove just how real a threat this really is. The whole ensemble is gathered again for one last number, and what they say as the video becomes increasingly more corrupted is terrifying. Change the master plan, take the hope from man, 'cause that's easier to do. In these final lines, they're simply saying that if need be, they'll simply change their plan, rendering any past efforts futile in the process and stealing away mankind's last shreds of hope. The video ends on a distorted freeze frame of Anthony, Emu, Rod, and Hugh from left to right respectively. At this point, you may be wondering who's behind all of this, and if it's even possible to tell. There are many clues that point to the true mastermind, and they're all hidden away in the very beginning introduction that I didn't describe earlier in the video. Is it the lovable Hugh Harper, the innocent Abbie Shilling, the almost scarily energetic Catrina Hylton-Hull, or even Rod himself? No. None of these people are behind the plan, let alone part of its creation. They're all captives, forced to play puppet for the true master's strings. Let's watch the introductions of the kids carefully again and pay attention to the way that they introduce themselves.
Are you all right? You're sitting back? But of course, why don't we meet our pink Windmill Kids?
Hi, my name's Catrina. And my name is Hugh. I'm Sarah. I'm Emma. And I'm Joe to you. Hello, my name is Spencer. And mine is Lorraine. I'm Anthony. I'm Debbie. And my name is Abbie.
More perceptive viewers may have already figured it out. One of these is not like the others. The man behind all of this, Joe Greco.
And I'm Joe to you.
This is extremely evident in his introduction and scene that we took a look at earlier. All of the other Windmill Kids introduce themselves with the version of I'm, name here, or my name is, name here. But Joe, if that is his real name, is different. He, while positioning himself at the far end of the main cast, keeping himself discreet yet visible, as his hubris does not allow himself to be part of the main cast. This hubris is shown later in the video, but earlier in my explanation, when he gives himself a center shot solo following the first chorus. Joe Greco is a very punctual man that chooses his words very carefully. If you remember, he introduces himself in the following way.
And I'm Joe to you.
And I'm Joe to you. This, and the reality that his intro is different than all the other kids, implies that we do not currently know his real identity, as he only bids us to refer to him as Joe, while in reality, he exists as the one behind it all. In conclusion, I believe that all hope is not lost at this point, which is why I made this video to document what I could find. If a single person could uncover this much information regarding their plan, then what could 10, or even 100? This is a cry for revolution. The human race must survive Joe Greco's unfathomably evil Windmill Kids. Please reach out to me if there's any pertinent information found.